Hello, everyone. I'm Eduardo Vilaro, the Artistic Director and CEO of Ballet Hispánico, and welcome to our Nube Blanco watch party. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Welcome to Choreographers and Cocktails. So I hope you have your cocktail, mocktail, beverage of choice with you so you can sit back, relax, listen to all the questions. I want to make sure you realize that you can send us questions in the chat, and I will ask the choreographer. I am so excited to be celebrating the start of Women's History Month with this incredible choreographer, friend, and amazing artist, Annabelle Lopez Ochoa. So I'd like to bring her on. Annabelle, would you join us, please?
Yes. Hi there.
Hi, salud.
Salud.
So Annabelle, I know sometimes we have folks who come and watch our watch parties, but sometimes we have new people. So instead of me giving a bio, you're here with us. I wonder if you can briefly tell us a little bit about, how you got to dance, a little bit like a mini bio, if that's okay.
Mini. I got to dance because I was a tomboy. I loved dressing like my brother. And my mother was fed up with that, and she thought, you have to become elegant, and she sent me to ballet. I hated it. I didn't understand all this exercise. That wasn't dancing, just moving your feet like that up and down. And then 2 years in, suddenly we had a performance, and I was watching the taller girls on their pointe shoes, expressing soloistic roles, and I was on the side doing my little part as a 10-year-old. And I thought, it clicked. I understood that we needed all that technique to become free and to become free of expressing something. So suddenly I wanted to keep on dancing. And in that same year, my teacher thought she saw some talent, and she asked my parents if I would want to go to the professional ballet academy. And I didn't want to be a dancer, but the situation at home wasn't great. My parents were fighting a lot. So for me, that was the key to freedom. So I auditioned. I didn't get in because my body wasn't made for ballet. But somehow through a little door and through my teacher, I got into the ballet school, and I stayed there for 7 years and became a professional dancer. I was trained as a classical ballerina, but it came clear to me at 15 when I put on my first tutu that wasn't me. I was not the fairy type. I was not the princess type. I was much more grounded than that. And therefore, when I was 18, I auditioned for 9 companies. I got in a tiny little company, and it was contemporary, a theatrical contemporary in the south of Germany. So that's how I became a dancer.
And choreographically, by the way, I have to say that I never heard the tomboy story. So I like that. It says, I can see now a lot in the work. I mean, we've been working together for some time, and it's always beautiful to see a new aspect of you. So thank you for sharing that. And so when did you decide to start choreographing?
When I was 11 years old, my teacher, before the Christmas break, decided not to teach class. She said that she would leave us for 1 hour with a pianist, and that we all had to come up with something on this 1 minute of music. And so she did leave for an hour, and that hour felt like 2 minutes. It just time stood still. And then when she came back, we saw the 8 versions of this 1 minute of music. And I remember saying to myself, if I could choreograph the rest of my life, I would be the happiest person alive on earth. So that's what I kept doing. Any opportunity during school, when I was a young choreographer, a young dancer, I just took that opportunity, and I didn't think it was a profession till much, much later, till I was 27 or something like that. And so I never stopped. It's been
Thank goodness.
36 years now.
Wow. Brava. So let's get to the piece. What a fun, that this piece brings so much memories for me because it was originally done on the company I founded in Chicago, Luna Negra Dance Theater. And it was, it was a convergence point for me and a special moment. So I want to thank you for that, for what you brought to that. But I'm wondering if you can tell us about the inspiration for this work.
Well, the inspiration, it was hard because I was brought up as you know, a half Latino, half a Belgian person. My mother is Belgian, my father is Colombian. And I had really sour and bad memories of being a mixed race child. So as an artist, I thought that I had to, you know, if I wanted to be taken seriously, I had to make contemporary dance with a Dutch flair or European flair. And there, for the first time, a director approached me, you approached me, and you said, I want you to do something about your Latin roots. And I was like, why? Nobody's interested in that. And I am ashamed. I want to be white like my mom, and I'm not. So, you know, that suddenly I had to like dig deep. And for me, Latino was my childhood. And so Nube Blanco means, you know, white cloud. And it represents my bed, my white cloud, where I would listen to my parents arguing. And they clashed a lot about the cultures because, you know, they had different ideas of how to raise children, about, you know, the position of women in society, in a household. So I grew up with that. And I also grew up with the rancheras, the Maria Dolores music. And I remember that when I was young, I hated it because I was so embarrassed that people, that our neighbors would think that we were immigrants and that they would look down on us. And so you know, it was something from the past, and it just brought memories. And suddenly you said, well, I want those memories. So I took all these old, you know, CDs, and I started, you know, speaking Spanish by the age of 30. And I understood actually the lyrics, which I didn't when I was young. And I thought, this is incredible music. And, you know, I was suddenly really grateful that I could shamelessly use the music of my youth, my childhood, and make a piece on that. So that's how the piece came about a hidden past.
Yeah, but it's so powerful to me because it captures so much of language and sounds that are in the Latin culture. You know, there's so much I want to ask you, but first let's go to technical, right? You also studied flamenco, and you brought that into this, which was really powerful. And I'm wondering if you can talk about what it was creating and using this flamenco and your approach to fusing that with contemporary movement, because I thought it was done so with such love and care for the actual stance and the real flamenco essence of power.
Yeah, it is a powerful, I mean, it's again something from my youth. I studied flamenco 7 years in Antwerp, really basic flamenco, 1 hour a week. And I knew that those songs were so short that every time the curve would just drop every time. So I was thinking, how can I musically, rhythmically keep it up? And so I thought of rhythms. And then I thought, oh, well, let's go flamenco. I have a little bit of a basic in that. And also flamenco, it's this very proud dance. And I wanted to have, you know, to start with a battle of the sexes before it was, you know, a duet between my father and my mother. So I wanted that to be settled, and then to come back in many forms, like with the 4 men, it's a little bit more comedic. Why that 4-man section got so long, it was supposed to be a really short transition, but they were so amazing. They were so great. To get it, that it became longer and longer and longer. So that I just kept it in the end. And yeah, I just wanted to, everything that was Latin, my memories, the music, and flamenco, I wanted to create a hodgepodge of that and put it in this one piece. And I thought, you know, it's probably the only piece I'm going to make about my Latin roots. So let's put it all in. And then you invited me again. So, but
to do more about your Latin roots.
To do more about the hidden
there's
path.
So much more in you. It's amazing. And what you know, not only the flamenco, but, you know, the idea for those of us who are immigrants, who are biracial children, who have to, you know, go through all these challenges of acceptance and understanding how to navigate the waters of I'm here, I'm there, where am I? You know, and how do I fit into the jigsaw puzzle? You used language, which was, I thought, so important. How we hear language, language has its own hierarchy as well. And I wonder if you can talk about why you made that choice. In particular, I love the woman on the phone.
That's my mom.
Okay.
That's yeah, I grew up with my mom being very often on the phone for hours. She was with her friends. And I remember that she was always complaining about, we said you would be at home at 8. The food is ready. Why aren't you there? And my father, you know, in Colombian culture is when you have an appointment at 8, you arrive after 8. From 8 on, people might get ready, you know. So that was always a misunderstanding. And so I translated it to the La Camisa Blanca, to why did you not wear your white shirt? What are the people going to think? That is, you know, a Christian thing. Obviously, there were a lot of arguments at home, but whenever we had guests, we played like it was nice weather.
Right.
That is the culture. You don't put the dirty laundry outside, you know. So I wanted to put that in one of the scenes, and then she's complaining that, you know, he's not wearing his white shirt. So yeah, and then the sound of men and women, it's just because Spanish for me was a sound when I grew up. I didn't understand the lyrics. I didn't understand people speaking, although I was raised in Spanish until I was 4 years old. So that's how little I could speak. So that's why I use those sounds. But now I speak it, so it's different, you know. So I'm like, oh, you know, it's like when you don't know the lyrics of a song, and so you just like phonetically sing along, and then when you're old, you're like, oh, that was the song was about that. So that's a little bit what I have with Spanish. It's
yeah, you know, for me, for the work I do with and I have done, trying to share culture, it was important for me that you did that. And I mean, I didn't ask for that. You allow the artists to do what's coming out of them. But for me, it was so important because I kept having people come back to me and saying, so is there a translation in the book? What is she saying? What do I need? And that to me is so perfect, because that is the immigrant experience. Learning to navigate through language and not understanding and trying. But the other layer for me in the work is that the movement, the vocabulary adds to the understanding and adds to the tension between, you know, the male and female. And so it was so powerful for me at that time. And I mean, how old is this? This is
12.
Right? 12
years old.
Wow.
Yes.
And I think
I was a baby choreographer.
Yeah, well, no.
So I have a hard time watching the piece, because obviously I see myself as a young choreographer and I think, oh my God, you know.
So you know, I just, this question came up when I was watching it, and when I was thinking about it. When you create a work like this that has some elements of your life, and I think you already answered it, but maybe you can talk a little bit more about this, or any of your other works, do you see yourself in it? Like a writer sometimes writes and puts themselves as the antagonist or a secondary figure.
Yeah, I mean,
and I just have to say that you've done full-length ballets also. So I'm just curious about that. It's just a question that came up for me.
Yeah, yeah. In all my pieces are mosaics of me. Great. So in the humor, in the drama, in the loneliness, in the happiness, it's actually, I'm putting myself out there completely naked. People just don't know it because I use other people, you know, dancers to put. But yes, it's definitely. This piece is very personal because it really dates from, you know, my childhood and of course my perception of situations, which might have been different. But when you're a child and you hear through the walls people, you know, arguing, you make it maybe worse than what it was. I don't know, but that's how I felt. I felt very lonely. And that's why at the end of the piece, the cloud finishes by herself. She feels very lonely in all this struggle. But yes, all my pieces are mosaics, are little parts of me that I, you know, share with the world.
Mm. And speaking of that broad mosaic, you know, we just are, well, we're still in this time of silencing. We've been silenced by the pandemic in many ways, but it seems like you have not been silenced. So I wonder if you can talk to us about what you've been doing during this pandemic.
When I stopped dancing, I gave myself 5 years to become a choreographer, to see if I could succeed and survive from choreography. And if that wouldn't work out, I would go to the film academy. And so with this pandemic, suddenly I decided to, go back to one of my passions to, edit images. And I was seeing all these dancers on Instagram, putting their ballet class at the kitchen counter. And I thought, well, that's not art. That's how you preserve your instrument. But art is an exchange between a creator and the muse. And then you transform and you try to transcend the idea through your own artistry. That's what is being an artist. And so I started, I wanted to make portraits of dancers around the world inside their houses. And then I started making movies. And right now I'm actually doing 7 films with 4 different countries and 4 different institutions with, groups of 30 people, students of Germany, a theater in Chile, in Hong Kong Ballet. They're going to do a 2-minute version of Sombrerissimo in the MTR, Yes, but it's like there's like 4 steps of the choreography and the rest is like B-rolls because of course I'm going to use the space. So I've been discovering this new art form because dance on film is not concert dance. And I'm still learning about all the possibilities of telling stories, but also how to edit. And so I'm on YouTube, reading tutorials, seeing tutorials of how I want to, how I can make what I see in my head.
Amazing. Amazing. And I think that's the beauty of this. It's a difficult time, but there's always something we can learn. And as artists, we have always learned how to persevere and how to make gold out of straw. So I congratulate you on that. We're celebrating Women's History Month this month in the States. And there has been such a need for more female leadership, women leaders in the dance field. I wonder how you are reacting to that or how you've seen a change happening and what should we be doing more of?
Well, I've definitely seen a change since I'm, in this business for 17 years. It started, I think, 10 years ago when I had my first interview or when I read my name in an article of being one of the very few female choreographers. It was an article in the UK. And when you're a choreographer, you're always by yourself. And you're always one of the guys and you're used to it. And it's true that I never shared evening with women until it became a trend to do the female choreographers evening. And suddenly we had women around us. But I never complained. I thought, okay, I used my tomboy energy that I had in me anyway. And it's, the only thing I can do as an advocate of more women in leadership position is to show the example that we can handle big projects, that we can handle big budgets, that we can handle big groups of people, and we don't lose it, because I think it's a matter of trust. These CEOs and programmers and directors, they have to gain our the trust. And so what I can do is show, yes, you can trust us. And I'm opening, hopefully with my foot, I put, it between the door for all these young female choreographers who can just be, because the trust will be there. So that's the only thing I think I can do, is to show that they can trust us and that they can, it's, you still see that female choreographers get a chance, but they don't get a second chance. You still, it's as a young choreographer, you have to be allowed to fail or to not make your best work. But, it would be nice if the directors could see the potential and be curious, but what would it be if it she came back and do something else. So, you know, that would be nice to see that more, what happens with male choreographers. They see the talent, they see the potential, and they bring them back, even if sometimes it's just not so good. And with women, I feel that sometimes the world is still very strict and harsh. Like, you know, if it's not good, then it's because you're a woman, because you're not good enough. And, you know, try to see the potential. Don't see the finished things. It's a journey. So, but, you know, I'm slowly seeing some young names coming back, and, you know, who will be, and I just made a work for the Joffrey Ballet and National Ballet. And these were young dancers of 19 years old at the Joffrey Ballet Academy. And I made them improvise, and I used the material. And I really, trust me, some of them are choreographers. And we will hear about them in 10 years, 15 years from now, I'm sure. So, yes, I try to encourage them, and, you know, and teach them. You know, I would love to be a choreography teacher, and also to women, to how they have to use their voice when they're in the studio, you know, because as a dancer, you don't develop your voice chakra. So a lot of ballet dancers, they talk a little bit like, you know, it's not needed. When you have a glass of wine on Saturday, you do not talk like that. So why do you do it in the studio? So I would love to be, you know, one of those teachers that can, you know, open the way and see their, you know, embrace their power and not be afraid of their own voice, of their ideas.
Yeah, I think you bring something so powerful up, which is, you know, leadership is about mentorship. It's about passing on, and it's about opening pathways. And so I think we're going to just take a little break here, because we have the most amazing guests, two other women leaders in the field. You know, I'm like, I have goosebumps because I've got some of the most amazing women on tonight. First up is Pamela Tatge from Jacob's Pillow, and then we have Virginia Johnson, and we're going to have a conversation with you. So it's very exciting. But I just want to stop for a minute and show a little bit of your work, Línea Recta, before we do that. So audience members, will be right back after this showing of Línea Recta. Beautiful. And also using more of the flamenco. That's such a gorgeous piece. So I want to bring on both the artistic and executive director of Jacob's Pillow, Pamela Tatge. Please join us. I love this. It's like
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Oh, great to see you. Oh my God. Wonderful
Nice
to be here.
Well, I'm so glad to be here. And just like I asked Annabelle, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about you and your work at Jacob's Pillow and the focus that you have now? Because how long has it been since you've?
It will be 5 years in April,
wow,
if you can imagine.
5 years.
So it's an anniversary coming up, and it's been an incredible ride, I have to say. I came to Jacob's Pillow from Wesleyan University, where I was the director of the Center for the Arts, and it was a multidisciplinary center with a contemporary art gallery. I presented theater, music, and dance. But it was really the work that I did in cross-disciplinary work, putting artists in non-arts classrooms, where I saw the power of embodiment and dance, and that became what I wanted to spend more time with in my next position. And so when the job at Jacob's Pillow opened up, I thought, oh my gosh, it combines my love of this art form, my deep appreciation for history, for education. It just brought so many things together, and it's been incredible. I've had the opportunity to just work with extraordinary artists, and it's so great because looking at both of you, you played a big part in my early years, because the summer of 2016, Annabelle was there as the director, as not the director yet, as the choreographer in the contemporary program. And she made an amazing work based on the movie Pulp Fiction. And I thought, who the heck can make a movie, a dance based on that film and do it so beautifully? And I was completely intrigued. It was the first time that I encountered Annabelle's choreography. And I was speaking with you at the same time, Eduardo, because it was very important to me in my first season as the curator at Jacob's Pillow to present Ballet Hispánico. And I also wanted to be a part of making something new. And so actually Linea Recta was the first work that I commissioned as director of Jacob's Pillow.
And I didn't even know it.
Yeah,
I found out after the premiere.
Yes, it was incredible, and so to me, to have been a part of the making of that work that then has gone on to be such a great part of your repertoire, Eduardo, and I know you've performed it so many places.
Everywhere.
And that image of that dress, oh my gosh, you know, it was so beautiful. So. Yeah, I feel that one of the things that Annabelle does that I noticed with the dancers in the school is she allows dancers to be themselves. And it's in that realization of themselves, being themselves on stage, that I think the audience feels. And therefore, it's just, you just find your shoulders, you just like, oh, you ease into the work. And it makes you able to go on a journey in ways that I don't think, I think is very rare. And so I saw that in Nube Blanco. I saw that obviously in Linea Recta, but in Nube Blanco, like those dancers, of course, they're incredibly technically strong, but you're also making them be actors. You're making them have, you know, in theater, we say, what is our action? What are our objectives? What are our given circumstances? All of that has to be real for that dancer on the phone, or it's not going to work, right? So not only, you know, are you paired with incredible dancers, but you're asking them to bring themselves into the performance. And I'd be very interested to know, how do you create a climate where a dancer feels like they can bring themselves into the performance?
You know, when you're a young choreographer, you make steps and you want people to dance like you, and you are frustrated because nobody dances like you. And so I had to learn that I have to create dances for people, not for me, not on my body, but on their body. So I started to learn to be a sculptor. And I'm very clear about, this is a situation, I would react a certain way, but I'm interested to know, how do you react if this would happen to you? So the situation stays the same. Because I work a lot with a theater director, Nancy Meckler, and she really, you know, taught me about talking about intentions and the want in a situation. And a scene is only good if there are two wants. I want to go left, you want to go right. So that makes an interesting interaction, an interesting build-up of a scene. And so out of that knowledge, learning from A Streetcar Named Desire, that's what I put in all my pieces. You know, being very clear with the situation, but you have to interpret it. And every day, every night, every performance, it has to be real. And so in dance, as dancers, we tend to seek perfection by repeating ourselves. And the more you repeat, the more you seek that one version that's going to be perfect. Right. And you go on stage and you do that version with the, you know, the realness as much as possible. But actors, they don't like to practice. They don't want to rehearse. They want to talk about what is their character, what is the situation. They stay at the table, they drink coffee forever. You can't get them off the table. And then they rehearse just a little bit. And it looks all very messy. And then they go on stage and they know so well what it's about that they can create as if it's real and happens in the now. So it's finding that balance in, we rehearse it, but at the same time, you have to make a choice every night to recreate this. And it should not be me. It should be your interpretation of that particular scene. So I still learn how to do it. And, you know, some dancers, they grab it. Some others, they need more time. They want to be told exactly what to do. They feel more safe. And some dancers go on the journey and they take the risk of, you know, when Annabelle says, just do it completely different tonight. I'm like, okay. And that's what you saw, actually, I think, with Pulp Fiction.
Yes,
right. Absolutely. I gave them a lot of freedom of being themselves. And,
but I think that your point, Pam, is really really important. I mean, and how it coincides with Annabelle and working with dancers. We compartmentalize our corporal physicality, right? And the constant perfection of this. And so our minds are so compartmentalized from that. And then emotion gets compartmentalized. And so, you know, it is the choreographer who squeezes them back together, the good choreographer. Right. And that's what I've seen about of your work, Annabelle, that you invite the artists to remove themselves from their dancerly self and say, okay, this is what this is about, and try something else and do this. So it is a very interesting, I'm going to say, environment that you build in each of your works for the dancers to live in.
Yeah. Also, when I create, I've realized that I love that dancers make mistakes, because sometimes those are better choreographic moments than when they do exactly what I ask for. So I'm always looking for those mistakes, and it helps me engage them, because I don't work with improvisations, not yet. When I'm old and I can't move anymore, then I'll work with that. But right now I'm still showing a lot, but at the same time, I want it to be a dialogue in the studio. And it takes, you know, a couple of days to get to that state of anything can happen. As long as we play, anything can be interesting and usable.
But even creating the safety for the dancers so they can feel okay about making mistakes, you know, so that you can notice them. It's sort of, it's the climate that you create. And I just have to put in a plug here that we believe that, you know, we at Jacob's Pillow in our school really believe that the dancers of tomorrow need to be hybrid dancers. They need to be able to walk into many different vocabularies. And so we invited Annabelle to be the co-director of our school, of the contemporary ballet program at our school last year, in the middle of COVID. You know, was to have been her first year as our co-director of contemporary ballet with Luis Torres. And then COVID hit, and J.R. Glover, the director of our school, said, you know what, I think we can go digital. I think we can do this online. And Annabelle agreed. And so I will be forever grateful for Annabelle and Luis saying, we can do this. You know, this is something that is possible. And what they got out of these students working, you know, in their found, you know, places all around the world. I forget how many time zones we had, you know, was remarkable.
7 time zones.
So I think, you know, this is a long way of saying that Annabelle has a real idea, I think, of what dancers today need to be able to walk into any setting, feel confident, be in touch with their voice. I mean, this we talk a lot about is finding your voice as a dancer. Dancers are not, as we just heard, are not, you know, able to find their voice often, or invited to. And so Yeah, so we're excited. This summer it will be a hybrid program. We'll have what we're calling a performing ensemble in residence. So there'll be 11 dancers at the Pillow, fully scholarshiped, and then there'll be an online program as well. So we're excited to see that come to be.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say kudos to you, Pam, and your leadership, because there is this kind of interdisciplinary bent to the way you're seeing how both your students for your program and how the artists can have a wider field to explore and bring works up that, you know, you might not have the time, space, or energy anywhere else to. So congrats on that. It's so important, and it's so interesting to me because I think it's actually the foundations of Jacob's Pillow and Ted Shaw.
Yes, that's right. Because he was an omnivore. He believed that it was all important, that everyone should study traditional forms from many different countries, and that should inform what modern dance was at that time. So that's really true. It is returning to our roots.
And so maybe I finished off the last little chunk of time with Annabelle talking about Women's History Month. And I'll ask you the same question, you know, not only your role, but how you see us moving the notch forward with women leadership. And I know I mean, just to have Annabelle there is one, and I know some of the people who work with you, but our audience doesn't. So
yes, yes. Well, I mean, we are, as an organization, we're very female heavy in terms of our staff. And, you know, I think our internship program, we have typically in a typical summer have 33 interns. I think this summer we're having 16, but what you were talking about, mentorship, being able to have opportunities to identify women who are of great promise and give them, like at Jacob's Pillow, we can't do our festival without interns. They are leaders. They are running programs, and to be able to, I think, you know, women need to see themselves just like any marginalized group needs to see themselves in leadership. And so the extent to which one of the areas we're really working on is technical theater and the technicians that we have to really make sure we have a good cohort of women in that group, because it's a really underserved area in our field, both in any performing arts. So we want to, that's an area that of need that we've identified. But I think it's so, I mean, if I think of the moment of our vice president taking the oath of office, to have, that was the most emotional moment for me of the entire day, is like, why did it take so long? And how important that validation in this country is that a woman could be president, you know, was a really inspiring moment. So it's about opportunity, and it's about, I think, women not being afraid to use their voices at appropriate moments in any setting. You know, and I think Annabelle and I would probably have stories of how we had to find our voice, how we had to not have the thought occur to us and say, well, I better not say it, actually say it. And it takes time. It takes you have to grow into that. And I think as we look back, we women wish we had that light bulb go off, or that courage, that we found that courage earlier in life.
Yeah.
I feel
our education taught us to.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it's more elegant, because it's not appropriate, because it's dangerous. And so we did well. We were good daughters. We were good students. We listened to, you know, our elderly, and they told us.
Yeah.
So, and now it's not that you want to scream, and, you know, I think we have to raise our younger ladies as being respectful and knowing their place. But if they have an idea, a good idea, thought out of the idea, they shouldn't be afraid of vocalizing that idea. And they have to also take responsibility if the answer is negative. You go out there in the world as an artist, you bring your work out, you will have criticism. So you got to be very strong also, and ready to, you know, if it's a position that you're taking, it's much easier to not say anything. So they have to also be aware of that.
That's true.
Pam and Annabelle, thank you. Thank you for the disruption. And that's what it is. We need good disruption. Pam, thank you so much. I know we could talk forever.
We could.
But,
Thank you.
but I can't wait till we can all be together again.
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to it.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And
I will see you in a couple months.
Yes, I'll see you in June.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Brava. We're going to take another little break and show you a little section of Annabelle's Balamouk, which was created for Dance Theatre of Harlem. And then we're going to bring the illustrious Virginia Johnson, the artistic director of Dance Theatre of Harlem, to talk to us as well.
Yay.
Yay. I know. You have to see your work. Sit and see your work.
No, but that one is not so long ago, so it's the memory are much fresher. So
it's a beautiful work, another beautiful work, and why I wanted to make sure that we had Virginia on, because she's a ballet artistic director that also utilizes you. So you also do work in points. So let's bring Virginia in and let's talk a little bit about that. Virginia!
Hi, Virginia!
Hello, hello. Oh, thank you for inviting me. I've been enjoying listening to this conversation. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's always fun to, we don't get enough time to talk about these things.
No, we don't talk about art enough in our profession.
We don't talk about art. We're talking about how to make sure we keep doing it.
Yes, yes. And the thing is that as artists, we came into this life because there was something that we needed to do in the world, that we needed to see happen that wasn't around us, that the creative part is essential to us. And in a certain sense, it's a little bit secret because every artist is different. Every person comes from a different place. But the exploration that comes from it is the thing that draws people to us. And we need to bring that into their lives as well.
Yeah.
Amen to that. So I wonder if we could start with what attracted you about Annabelle's work for Dance Theatre of Harlem?
So, Annabelle, do you remember 5,000 years ago you were making something for Ballet X?
Yes. You were the editor.
There was a conversation about female choreographers.
She saw my very first work in the States. The one that you saw also with Ballet X, the Still Alive. And then we had a discussion with the 3 female choreographers.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is a long time ago. I was still at Point Magazine. I hadn't come back to Dance Theatre of Harlem. And Christine Cox invited me to come down to moderate a conversation with female choreographers. So this is early 2000s, isn't it?
It's 2008.
There you go. So this is before everybody was talking about female choreographers. And I so appreciated your comments, Annabelle. And so I'm sitting there in the theater looking at this mind-bogglingly creative work on the stage. And I'm thinking, who made this? And then I meet Annabelle, who is just the most wonderful, casual, open, enthusiastic person. And I thought, this is not what you think about when you see a work that's really complex and developed. You think that this person is going to walk around with a scowl on their face and that they're constantly worried and blah, 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 blah. And Annabelle was like the sunshine. So I thought, oh my God, this is somebody I want to follow. And so I did. I followed, I looked at her work, at different choreographies. I saw different works. I saw different developments. And so when we had a chance to do something at Dance Theatre of Harlem through New York City Center for Fall for Dance, the first name that came to mind, they said, what choreographer would you like to work with? Oh, okay, wait, I'll do this. What female choreographer do you want to work with? Because we're in that mode.
Right.
It's now the thing that you have to do. And the first name that came to mind was Annabelle. I thought, this is the moment. So thanks to City Center, Dance Theatre of Harlem has Balamouk.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And you know, as an artistic director, it's always good for us to understand the way we curate and the way we develop things. But also, you know, we bring in choreographers because they are going to bestow something on our company.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, I think the thing that listening to the conversation and also thinking about Annabelle, I felt, you know, the Dance Theatre of Harlem company is now, it's 10 years old. So it's a matter of cultivating these dancers, making them into this artistic expression that belongs to now. And I think that developing them, you know, you develop them as classical artists, you develop their technique, you develop it, but they also need to understand who they are on the stage. That when they step onto the stage, it's not about doing the step. It's not about being in the music or being, those things are givens, but you enter the stage and you bring something to the stage because of who you are as an individual. And I knew that Annabelle would be perfect to open that door for them. And the work, watching her create Balamouk, was that path of having her challenge them, but in that gentle, warm, exploratory way to figure out what they're doing in this moment. That's not about, you know, is it turnout, is it passe, but who they are bringing to the stage and their individuality. It was very beautiful. It was very beautiful watching that.
So the story behind is I had seen a tech rehearsal of DTH 2 years before at City Center, and it was one piece. I don't remember who the choreographer was, but it was very serious. And, you know, there were no costumes. So, and I was with my bags and I just said hi to Virginia and I left to take my plane. So when I was invited 2 years later, I thought, oh, they're very intellectual. And I came with Shostakovich music. It was
right.
dance. So I'm there the first day, you know, with this Shostakovich music, amazing music, but like intellectual. And they're all trying. And I'm thinking, it doesn't gel. It doesn't, what's going on? So by the end of the rehearsal, 3 hours rehearsal, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put a music that I like. And I put this music and suddenly they all went bing. And suddenly all their personalities, they were so colorful. I was like, whoa, what? What's going on with this music? It was like they fell in love with it. And I thought, you guys, you know, next day I came in, I said, I'm changing the entire ID. You chose the music. We're going to use that. I'm just going to make up something. And I just, the piece turned around completely on the second day. And we went on a completely different journey because I finally cracked the ice and I saw them and I was like, I see you. And I'm going to dress you completely different. Because it was so different that even me trying to get you together, it's just going to be a mess. So how about we're all different? And that was, it was amazing. It was an amazing journey to get them there. And that's how Balamouk started.
So Annabelle, you know, you're a chameleon. You know, you go from from Dance Theatre of Harlem to Ballet Hispánico to Wim Wim to Dutch
New York
National
Ballet, San Francisco Ballet.
Right. And so maybe you can talk about how you transition, especially from like point shoes to totally contemporary to, I mean, you've done it all, heels. I've seen you do it all.
Yeah, I think, my way is just the first 2 days is really not to create any choreography. It's to get to know the people I have in front of me. And yes, I can have an idea about what I want to say about, music I found or the world around me. But in the end, it's going to be the artist defending that piece. And for them to defend it well, I have to get to know them. So the first 2 days is about me playing around and whatever their language is and who is, watching, observing who is the natural leader, who's the funny guy, who's the person that, slept with someone, all the shenanigans is right in front of me. And it's up to me to put all my antennas out and to feel it. What is that? And who would want to work together? So and out of that patchwork of the energies that I get, that's how I make my decision in a very intuitive way. You're going to dance a duet. You're going to dance a trio. You're going to, so, and then we can start making the piece after day 4. But in the beginning, the first 3 days is really getting to know them and who this company is about and what they want to express at that moment. The dancers are saying so much more than they think silently.
Yes.
So, I did a piece for Kansas City Ballet and I had this beautiful, gorgeous classical music. And then this one guy keeps making jokes and the piece became a comedic piece only because he every time says something like this and every dancer is like laughing. So I had to use that. It's, it's the dance is telling me, inspiring me to make a work for them. And, hopefully, when the generations changes, the work still stands a little bit because it's very much made on the personalities of the dancers.
I want to hold a space for the work you've done, Virginia, with DTH, the incredible work you've done. It's no small feat to build a company back up. So I just want to hold that space and then at the same time ask you, it is, sweetheart. There she is. She won. She needs to be seen. I understand.
She must be here.
But I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about, it's so wonderful that you are the second person to lead the organization after Mr. Mitchell, and that it's a woman leader. So what do you think now as we go into the future? We're talking about future here also. Is that your focus for DTH and how you're going to continue pushing that vision and mission forward, if you don't mind?
Thank you, Eduardo, and thank you. I feel so very honored to have this opportunity. It was not something that I was looking to do, but being here feels absolutely right. I think this time, and actually this very difficult time, is it's a watershed moment in our field. And there are many things that are possible now that we'd hoped for and that we wanted, and we were talking about, why can't the world change? Well, the world has changed, and the world can change even more. And we must make sure that we have that happening, that we create opportunities, that we, again, look at this art form, try to see that it really belongs to all of us. It's not belonging to one culture in particular, and that the necessity that we have to do as artists in this time is to create ballet for the future, to create ballet that is inclusive, that is representative, that speaks to us all, that is of this moment, that remains in this place of being an exalted, uplifting art form, but that is real and is honest in ways that we have not seen in the past 20, 30 years. So that's about creating opportunity to develop voices, creating opportunity for people to tell stories that have not been seen on our stages before, and really inviting people to be part of this art form who thought it wasn't for them, whether they're on the stage or they're in the wings or they're in the administrative offices or they're in the audience, because this is a moment that we can seize and transform.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Annabelle, do you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's this company called Ballet Black in the UK. And, you know, I didn't know them. Whenever I was in London, I would go see the Royal Ballet or Sadler's Wells. And, you know, you're surrounded by a certain entourage and audience. And then you go see Ballet Black, and 80% of the audience is Black, and they love ballet. And you're like, there is an audience, except they don't go to Royal Ballet because they don't see themselves there.
Yes.
So why can't we mix and have, you know, more colors? There is that audience. You're gonna attract another audience, and you're gonna make, you know, the art is gonna show what society is and what it should be. And it was so beautiful. I mean, all these little girls seeing these Black ballerinas. I was like, yes, that's why we do it. You know,
absolutely.
So, yes, these companies are very important, and you know, your both companies are important for these little girls and gentlemen that want to go into that world.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Virginia.
No, I think the thing is that we keep going, as you know, as if it's an either or. It's an and situation. We need to create many more ands, putting people together and making sure that we're not just focusing there, but that we're focusing on opening the door to everyone, to the idea of it being for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the thing, that it wasn't for everyone. And so, you know, that's the beauty of the bravery of, you know, people like Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Ailey, Tina, you know, those people who said, my voice is part of this as well, and develop these companies. And I think it's now our responsibility to do the and, right? To really connect the dots. And that's a lot of work, you know, that's a lot more than the models of dance companies before.
But I just wanted to interrupt you to say,
sure. Yes.
And that is the joy. And that is that we have the chance to create something that couldn't have happened before.
Exactly.
And it's a responsibility, yes, but my gosh, what a great challenge to have.
And what great opportunities that will come out of it. I mean, I'm seeing it now. I'm sure you both are. You know, you've mentioned the young Annabelle, the young ladies you've worked for, you're working with currently, and you're seeing their choreographers there. You know, getting our voices in the mix to say, look at that, look at something else, look at something different.
No, but also the news that we have from the Paris Opera. There are now 5 Black dancers.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, it's wow. From the time, like 5 years ago, there were, you know, a dark spot, and you know, and
they were making them put white makeup on their skin.
Exactly. Next year, the Dutch National Ballet will have 16 shades of tights. 16, not you're black or you're colored, you have that shade, and we all wear pink. No. Right. All of us, we are different. We have different mixes. We have white but olive oil because somebody's Portuguese. You know, all of that has to be embraced and recognized and celebrated on stage. And yes, we can dance on one beat together, but what does it mean if your tights fits your skin color? So there is a change.
Yourself in this form.
Yeah, yes, and there is an effort.
Yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're almost done with our time, but you know, I always love doing this because sometimes we have a school of dance, and as well as you do, Virginia, and you work with students, and so our students watch this program, and I'd love to have the opportunity for both of you to tell our young ladies, you know, what should they be thinking of what helped you, let's say that, just a little advice on their career as they look at moving forward in this field.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Work. It's always a tough one.
And don't
work. Yes. Yes, you have to love this enough to submit to how hard it is, to be ready and to be brave when somebody says to you no, that you say, but yes, I can and will, and put the work in to support that, because it doesn't happen overnight, but every day that you commit to it is the day that becomes stronger and the day that you will achieve in the future the thing that you dream of now.
Yeah. And also, I think it's not because you're rejected once you didn't get into a company that it's the end of the world. I think for each dancer, each choreographer, there is a platform. You have to go out there and look for it and not think, oh, they didn't take me, and it's, you know, take it personal, because a director really thinks of their company as a roster, and maybe you're a good dance, but you don't fit the roster. So don't despair. Just persevere and learn what perseverance is, and trust that if you look good enough, you'll find that platform.
Absolutely. And be a sponge. Absorb everything you can, not just about what your technique is, but what the world is, what the world of your dance is, what the music is, what art is, so that you have, when you have an opportunity, when somebody like Annabelle walks into the studio, she sees your shining light and she wants to work with you.
And she sees that you're curious. I always talk about curiosity. And when you have an artist who's curious, not only about what they do technically, but who they are as a citizen of the world, that shines through.
Absolutely.
Again, I can talk for hours. We're just about, I can't thank you both enough for joining me and celebrating Annabelle. So, Jay, thank you so much, Virginia, for joining us. This was really a treat. So I just wanted to end by saying thank you. We will be back with another watch party, Ballet Hispánico watch party, in 2 weeks. So join us then. We have some special guests continuing to celebrate our Women's History Month. Until then, adios, amigos.
Adios.
Cheers.
Adios.
Cheers, friends.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.